Well, a computer hacker turned FBI informant will probably win a get-out-of-jail-free card despite accusations that he impersonated a federal agent. Now, federal prosecutors revealed that 28-year-old Hector Mansinger helped them build a case against a worldwide hacking group, Anonymous. A Manhattan judge agreed to dismiss the impersonation charge if Mansinger stays out of trouble for 6 months. Meanwhile, the group that he helped disrupt is still up to their old tricks. This month, a pair of tech companies, U.S. Telecom and Tech America, said Anonymous crashed their websites. Both companies support new controversial cybersecurity legislation. Joining me tonight with the latest on this is Cedric Leighton. He's a military intelligence officer and retired U.S. Air Force colonel. He's also the president of Cedric Leighton Associates. Good to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Kathy. It's great to be with you.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about this controversial cybersecurity bill. I guess what is the controversy behind it?
Well, there are actually several bills that are up for consideration by Congress right now, and the one that's being talked about most is called CISPA, the Cyber Intelligence Security and Protection Act. And basically what it's designed to do is from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. It's sponsored by the chairman of that committee, a Republican from Michigan, as well as Dutch Ruppersberger, the Maryland representative. And what it's designed to do is it's designed to actually have a clearinghouse of information that will be within the intelligence community. But the unique thing about it is that the intelligence community will get to share threat information with private firms. Now, the big objection to this provision is that private firms will now have access to classified information. That's not so objectionable to many people, but they're worried that the information that those firms provide in exchange is going to include privacy data, and that privacy data then will be used for the government to spy, for lack of a better term, on U.S. citizens, on private U.S. individuals, even if they have nothing to do with cyber hacking or any of the other issues that we're so concerned about in this day and age of cyber breaches. So that is one aspect of it. The White House has come out against CISPA. They believe that there should be more stringent privacy regulations within any proposed legislation. There's a bill in the Senate that is sponsored by Senator Lieberman and Senator Collins, and they believe that that bill is more in line with the White House's thinking. Now, there are other pieces of legislation. Senator McCain opposes the Lieberman-Collins bill, and his Secure IT Act is basically designed to have voluntary cooperation. The Lieberman-Collins effort is a more mandatory effort, and the other pieces of legislation tend to be more voluntary, and that's the major difference. And a lot of privacy experts are worried that there are going to be a lot of issues with that. But here's the main problem with that. What you end up having here is a situation where we now have a lot of things going on within the Internet. A lot of dependence from an economic standpoint, a lot of issues that way, and because of that, there's something absolutely needs to be done in order to secure the cyber commons. I'm referring to it as a commons because it's something that we all use, just like the water, air, all of those things are also part of a particular commons related to that realm. So there are going to be a lot of different issues. The business community is very worried about having extra regulations put upon them, but the other side of the coin is if we don't have those regulations, then there's going to be a bigger risk to all of our IT infrastructure.
And obviously this legislation targets groups like Anonymous. They have remained anonymous for this long and so elusive. How have they been able to do this for so long?
Well, they hide behind lots of layers. They're very good at what they do, and what they do, of course, is they hack into things. One of the most celebrated things they did fairly recently was hacking into the security website Stratfor, which is a private intelligence firm. And what they ended up doing there was they ended up compromising credit card numbers, all kinds of things like that, and that becomes a key component of why a lot of people are very worried about what hackers like Anonymous can do. Anonymous hides behind a lot of different things. It's very hard to trace individual members. They, of course, pick the name deliberately, and they go through this whole process in order to advance a political agenda. They do things in that way so that they can make sure that their voices are heard. The only problem with this is that it also affects a whole bunch of people in terms of collateral damage that could be a real problem for internet commerce, for the security of private information and other things, and so that becomes the big issue, and that's why the federal government goes after Anonymous.
And right now, what are some of the big companies doing to guard against attacks from groups like Anonymous?
Well, of course, the first line of defense is the firewall, and that's a very traditional IT defense that a lot of companies have. What they also end up doing is encrypting data. So between firewall and encryption, they hope to secure a large portion of their internet infrastructure. The other part of it is that they have detection systems designed to find malware, so that whenever malware is inserted into a particular IT network, there are systems out there that can detect it. The problem with a lot of those systems is that the malware can already be active and can already do damage before it is detected. That's what happened, for example, to Norelco, the Canadian telecommunications firm. They lost a lot of business, a lot of intellectual property because Chinese hackers had gone in and distributed malware into their systems and basically made the company now a defunct company.
Talk about those Chinese nationals. You touched upon that. They've been charged for software piracy and illegally exporting technology to their country. Now, how prevalent, how common is this type of activity, especially with countries overseas and with the U.S.?
It is very, very common. The Chinese hackers are so far being accused of actually hacking into systems and also providing pirated copies of intellectual property. They basically hacked into about 150 different websites, caused approximately $100 million, at least that's what's alleged, in damage. So when they do these kinds of things, obviously there's a huge economic cost to that. Now, this is one facet of the problem, and it's not just a Chinese issue. For example, the Russians, the Russian mafia, colloquially known as the large Russian criminal syndicates, they are very, very heavily involved in that. The Russians tend to go after credit card information. The Chinese tend to go after intellectual property, and that in essence is the main difference between the two. But both are very dangerous for international commerce. They're very dangerous for all of our efforts to have a viable commercial way of doing business in cyberspace, and that's why these two groups are very, very difficult to deal with, and also the laws are not adequate to deal with the situation right now.
All right. Cedric Leighton, thank you very much for discussing this very important topic.
Kathy, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.